You think you've healed, don't you? You wear that mask of resilience like armor. Tell yourself you're unbreakable. But deep down, you know the truth. Deep down, you didn't heal. No, you hardened. You became cold. You became numb. You traded the flame of pain for the ice of indifference. And maybe you pat yourself on the back, whispering, "I'm stronger." But you stripped away your humanity in that bargain. You traded tears for stone. You traded hope for cynicism. You traded you for someone else, someone safe, distant, untouchable. But what's safety without feeling? What's strength without connection? You're just a fortress with walls so high even you can't climb out. Come on, let me be real with you. You think cutting off emotions is power? It's weakness. Weakness disguised as strength. It's easier, I get it. Easier to laugh at the world than let it in. Easier to build a wall than bear the risk of crumbling. But every brick you lay locks away a piece of yourself. The kid who dared to dream, the person who believed in kindness, the heart that still wanted to break, even when it hurt. You killed her. You killed that part. And for what? A shield so thick it now protects nothing. You're not stronger. You're empty. And trust me, emptiness is the loneliest prison of them all. Logic. You asked for logic. All right, here it is. Healing isn't about forgetting. It isn't about pretending pain never happened. Healing is acknowledging the cut, letting it bleed, and then learning how to live with the scar. But you turned that cut into a wound so deep it became a crater. You refuse to feel, so pain festers, unchecked. But at least you won't cry, huh? At least you won't admit it to yourself. Meanwhile, you're feeding that wound every day with silence, with isolation, with bitterness. That bitterness grows, makes you cynical, makes you bitter. And what good is that? You end up hating the world, and maybe most of all yourself. That's your real enemy, yourself. You hardened around fear. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of exposing the raw parts of your soul. Fear of disappointment. So you armored up. Yeah, you may not crumble easily, but you sure as hell can't feel either. You call it progress, but it's stagnation. You hide behind bravado, grit, street language, but that's all theater. A grown-up tantrum. You defend your walls like they're sacred, but look inside, barren. No laughter, no joy, no tears, just stone. And that's a hell of your own design. Logical? You put your heart in a cage and now you wonder why you're lonely. You stifled your pain, but you also stifled your dreams. You shut out the world, but you also shut out love. You sacrificed growth for stability, but you're not growing, you're petrifying. You didn't evolve, you fossilized. Hear me, people move on not by closing off, but by integrating, by letting their story shape them without letting it destroy them. Healing is messy, not neat. There's no checklist. Step 1, cry. Step 2, smile. Step 3, done. It's chaos. It's relapse and regression. It's rage and grief. But it's alive. You traded alive for acceptable. You traded becoming for surviving. And surviving is fine, but surviving forever, it isn't living. Are you ready for that? To mark time as a silent statue? To watch sunsets through iron bars you built with your own hands? It's harsh, yeah. Dark, sure. I'm not sugarcoating it because you don't need sugar. You need truth. And the truth is, you can unharden. You can open the bars. That doesn't mean you'll break wide open. It means you'll let some light in. Let in the risk. Let in the pain. And maybe let in hope. You gotta feel the wound to heal it. You gotta breathe through the hurt to move through it. That's the deal. You didn't heal by cracking open. No, you hardened. Now it's time to crack again. Time to bleed a little. Time to feel. Time to live. And when you do, don't be surprised if it hurts. Good. That's the sound of healing. Don't be surprised if you stumble. That's the shuffle of progress. Don't be surprised if the fortress trembles. That means the walls are falling. And when that happens, maybe, just maybe, you'll realize healing wasn't your enemy. Hiding was. Hardening was. And deep down, you always knew that. Now you've just got to do something about it. Tear down the walls, tear them down, piece by piece. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for a sign. You already have everything you need. The cracks in the armor, the scars, the memories, the ache. Let that be your map. Right to the soft, vulnerable, beautiful core that you buried. That's still you, the real you, the one who hurts, the one who loves, the one who can heal, but only if you let her, because healing isn't built in walls, it's born in the wreckage. So what are you gonna do? Keep playing at being unbreakable, or risk becoming really strong. You see, the world doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care that you were good to people who betrayed you, or that you gave love to people who only knew how to take. Life doesn't hand out medals for endurance, no matter how noble the suffering, and that's where most people get it twisted. They think being hardened is some kind of badge of honor, but it's not. It's a survival mechanism. It's what your mind does when it's had enough. When your soul screams and no one listens. When your kindness is seen as weakness and your love is mistaken for naivety, so you shut down. Not because you're cruel, but because you're tired. And I get it. God, do I get it. But listen. Being tired isn't an excuse to turn into the very thing that broke you. Becoming numb doesn't mean you've grown. It just means the pain got smarter. It moved in quietly and made itself comfortable. It decorated your mind with silence and anger and disconnection. And now you wear it like a crown of ashes. Let me paint you a picture. You walk into a room, people talk, people laugh, and you smile on the outside. But inside, you're somewhere else. You're scanning, measuring, calculating who's real and who's fake. You've done this so many times it became second nature, and people call you mysterious, or strong, or charming, but they don't know the half of it. They don't know how many nights you've stared at the ceiling, heart racing for no reason. They don't know how many times you've held back tears just to maintain control. You built that control like a castle, didn't you? Every betrayal, every lie, every moment of disappointment, brick by brick. And now, you're the king of that fortress, alone, powerful, but starving. Because what you really want is to be understood, to be seen without having to perform. But that's the joke, isn't it? The more you protect yourself, the harder it is to be seen. And the more invisible you become, the more you hate the world for not noticing you. It's a vicious cycle. And the sickest part? You start to like it. You start to take pride in being distant. You convince yourself that people don't deserve the real you, that you're better off in the shadows. That silence is strength. But silence also strangles. It chokes the voice in your head that used to scream with passion, with curiosity, with hope. That silence becomes a coffin, and you willingly climb in, all because you mistook pain for transformation. You thought the more emotionless you became, the more powerful you'd be. But real power isn't in being untouchable. Real power is in being able to feel and still not fall apart. It's in standing there, eyes wide open, heart bleeding, and choosing to try again. That's what they'll never tell you. That strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes strength is a whisper that says, I'll show up again tomorrow. And I know you're scared. Of what? Of being seen? Of being loved? Of being hurt again? You think hardening is safer. But let me tell you something. No one ever told you. Safety is an illusion. You can die tomorrow with all your guards up and still feel like you lost. You can push everyone away and still ache for a hug. You can pretend you don't care, but your eyes will always betray you. You're not fooling anyone, not for long. People can see pain, even if they don't mention it. They can feel the chill you carry, even if they never confront it. And the worst part is, they'll start treating you like you treat yourself, as someone unreachable. And when that happens, you'll wake up one day realizing that you didn't lose people because they failed you. You lost them because you refused to let them in. That's what happens when you don't heal. You become a ghost, haunting your own life. You exist, but you don't live. You breathe, but you don't feel. You're there, but gone. So I'm asking you one last time, are you really healed? Or did you just become so used to the pain that you mistook it for normal? Did you bury your soul just to stop the bleeding? Are you proud of who you become? Or are you just proud you survived? There's a difference. Surviving is the first half of the story. Living is the second. And I'm not here to baby you. I'm not here to sell you some fluffy quote about finding peace in chaos. I'm here to shake you because someone needs to. Someone needs to pull you out of that mental coffin you nailed shut and say, wake up. You've been gone long enough. Because you didn't heal. You hardened. And that's not how the story ends. Unless you want it to. But maybe that's the twisted part of all this. You do want it to end that way, don't you? Maybe a part of you is done fighting. Maybe the exhaustion runs so deep it feels like part of your personality now. You don't even remember what softness feels like. You look in the mirror and all you see is survival. Not a person, not a dream, just armor. And you call it growth because it's the only language your pain understands. You're not trying to evolve. You're trying not to drown. And you've gotten good at holding your breath. You've gone so long beneath the surface that the idea of coming up for air actually scares you more than staying under. Because healing means facing what broke you. It means feeling again, and you're not sure you can survive that a second time. But here's the truth, plain and dirty. What you survived wasn't meant to turn you into stone. It was meant to carve you into something deeper, something wiser, something more grounded. But instead of letting it shape you, you built a wall to keep everything out, including the light. You can't grow in the dark, and you know that. You're not a monster. You're just someone who's been through hell and came back without a map. And the problem with that? You started thinking the fire was home. You started calling the pain your identity. And now when people try to love you, you don't know how to open the door. You assume they'll leave. You expect betrayal. You predict disappointment. So you preemptively shut it all down. You call it strength, but it's fear. Cold, paralyzing, disguised fear. And let's get something straight. I'm not blaming you. I'm not standing here preaching like I've never burned. I live in the ashes. I've tasted the betrayal. I've sat in rooms where I gave everything only to be laughed at. I know what it's like to be the only one who stays loyal when everyone else folds. And I know what it feels like to realize none of that loyalty brought peace. I know what it feels like to scream in silence, to beg for someone, anyone, to see through the mask. But nobody does. And eventually, you stop hoping. You stop asking. You stop trusting. You think, why even try? And that thought becomes a belief. That belief becomes a rule. And that rule becomes a cage. But cages don't protect you forever. They just keep you still. And you weren't built for stillness. You weren't born to be untouched, unloved, or unshaken. That version of you, the one you buried under fear and logic and fake smiles, they're still there, waiting, not broken, just buried. And no one's coming to dig them out but you. You're waiting for someone to see past the hard shell, but no one will because you never gave them a window. You locked the damn doors and threw away the key. And now you sit in the dark, calling it peace. But it's not peace. It's avoidance. It's self-protection turned into self-destruction. You ever wonder why you don't get excited like you used to? Why your dreams feel like faded sketches instead of vivid pictures? It's because your walls don't just block out the pain. They block out the joy too. You dulled the blade, yeah, but you dulled the light with it. And no matter how many motivational quotes you save or how many songs you blast at 2 a.m., you feel the emptiness. You feel the echo. And that echo, that's the part of you abandoned. That's the voice you left behind when you decided healing was too much, when you decided hardening was easier. But easier doesn't mean better. Numb doesn't mean whole, and silence doesn't mean healed. And I know, you think letting someone in again means giving them the power to destroy you. But what you don't realize is that no one can destroy you the way you've been destroying yourself, piece by piece, day by day. With every emotion you suppress, with every boundary you refuse to break, with every truth you silence because it feels too raw to admit. That's the real damage. Not what they did, not what they said, but what you told yourself after. You built your identity around being unfazed, but inside, you're screaming for someone to just hold you without asking questions. To say, I see the pain behind your eyes, and I'm not afraid of it. But the question is, are you afraid of it? Because until you face it, until you stop pretending you've healed when all you did was close off, you'll never be free. You'll never be at peace. You'll never taste the real strength that comes from being whole again. You didn't heal, you hardened. But hard doesn't last forever. Even stone cracks, even iron rusts. But the soul doesn't break. It just waits. It waits for you to come back. Are you ready to return? Or are you still pretending that this numbness is enough? Keep lying to yourself, and you'll stay safe. But safety isn't the same thing as happiness. And you didn't come this far just to survive. You came here to feel alive. You want to know what's really terrifying? It's not the pain. It's not the betrayal. It's not even the loneliness. The scariest part, the part no one wants to admit, is the moment you realize you've become so used to the darkness, you start fearing the light, that silence, that distance, that emotional void you created just to cope. It becomes your new normal. And when something or someone shows up that feels warm, you flinch, you question it, you sabotage it, you look for cracks where there are none because you don't trust anything that doesn't hurt. You push away good people because your mind whispers, don't fall for it again. And there it is, the trap you built for yourself. You want love, but you're terrified of it. You want peace, but you're addicted to the chaos. You want connection, but you're fluent in isolation. You call yourself smart for building that wall, right? You say things like, I don't need anyone, or I'm better off alone. You even convinced yourself that emotions are a liability. But let me ask you something. If you're so strong, why do you still feel that ache in your chest when the room goes quiet? Why does a simple memory hit you like a punch to the gut? Why do you stay awake at night, overthinking a conversation from 3 weeks ago? Because deep down, you didn't kill your feelings. You buried them. And buried things rot. They don't go away. They fester. They infect. And every decision you make from that point forward is filtered through trauma, through fear, through a lens so dark that even light starts to look suspicious. Let's not pretend you don't feel it. You do. Every time someone gets close, your guard shoots up like it's life or death. Every time you feel joy, you wait for the punishment that follows. You flinch at kindness. You question loyalty. You mistrust silence because you've been trained by pain to expect the worst. And guess what? That's not strength. That's survival trauma. That's your inner child curled up in a corner screaming, "Don't let it happen again." But the truth is, it already is happening again. You're hurting yourself now. You're playing both roles, the one who got hurt and the one doing the hurting. You've become your own villain, and you don't even realize it. And that's what hardening does to a person. It makes you forget who you were before the pain, before the disappointments, before the betrayals. It steals your softness, your spontaneity, your fire. You don't dance anymore. You don't dream anymore. You don't even laugh the same way. And when people ask what's wrong, you lie. You say nothing. I'm fine. But you're not fine. You're drowning, quietly, elegantly, with a straight face and dry eyes. You've mastered the art of suffering silently, and people call it being strong. But I call it slow suicide. I call it emotional starvation. You've locked yourself in a tower, hoping someone will climb the walls to reach you. But how can they when you never leave the window open? And let me guess, you think no one understands, right? You think your story is too twisted, too painful, too unique. But pain isn't unique. It's universal. Everyone's carrying something. What makes you different isn't the weight you carry. It's how long you've refused to put it down. Healing isn't linear. It's ugly. It's raw. It's chaotic. But it's real. And that's what you've been avoiding. Reality. You've been living in the echo chamber of your own hurt, thinking that one day it'll turn into wisdom. But wisdom doesn't come from silence. It comes from processing, from speaking, from feeling. And you can't process anything if you're too scared to sit with it. That's what healing demands. Confrontation. Brutal, honest confrontation with yourself. So stop lying to yourself. Stop saying you've moved on when you haven't. Stop calling your bitterness maturity. Stop mistaking emotional detachment for strength. It's not strength. It's fear dressed up in confidence. It's pride protecting an old wound that never healed properly. You're not better off like this. You're just more distant. You're not wiser. You're just more guarded. And guardrails can't replace growth. At some point, you'll have to ask yourself, am I protecting myself or am I imprisoning myself? Because the real flex isn't being cold. The real flex isn't not caring. The real flex, being soft in a world that tried to harden you, being kind after cruelty, being loving after loss. That takes guts. That's power. Anyone can turn cold. Anyone can shut down. But it takes a real warrior to say, yeah, I've been through hell, and I still choose to feel. That's not weakness. That's redemption. So what's it gonna be? Keep numbing yourself until there's nothing left to feel? Keep hiding behind silence and pretending it's a shield? Or are you finally ready to rip off the armor and face the world with everything you've got? Scars, cracks, pain, and all. Because the day you do that, that's the day you stop surviving and start living. And isn't that what you've been fighting for all along? You fooled a lot of people, haven't you? With your smirks, your I don't care attitude, your detached little quotes that sound deep but say nothing. You've played the part well, the unbothered one, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't love, doesn't lose sleep. But behind closed doors, it's a different movie. The act ends, the mask falls, and you're just tired. So damn tired. Because it takes energy to act like nothing touches you. It takes effort to push people away before they can reach you. And every night, when you're lying in bed with nothing but the sound of your thoughts chewing at your ribs, you realize the performance cost more than it gave. Because nobody really knows you anymore. Hell, you barely know yourself. You weren't born like this. You became like this. Life took swings at you, and instead of letting yourself bleed and heal, you stitched yourself shut before the wound was even clean. You kept telling yourself, next time I'll be smarter. Next time I won't feel anything. And look where that got you. People call you strong because they don't see the damage under the armor. But I do. I see it. I see the rage buried under the calm. I see the loneliness hiding behind every sarcastic smile. I see the guilt, the grief, the self-blame, and the hundreds of what-ifs that haunt you like ghosts. You walk through your own life like a stranger, present in body, absent in spirit. And that's not strength, that's quiet suffering, that's delayed breakdown, disguised as discipline. You didn't harden because you're heartless. You hardened because you were tired of begging to be seen, tired of giving and getting crumbs in return, tired of being the one who loves more, feels more, cares more. So you flipped the switch, you swore you'd never go through that again, and maybe you haven't. But you also haven't lived since then either, have you? You've existed, you've functioned, but the fire? Gone. The wonder? Faded. The passion that used to make your chest burn? Extinguished. And you tell yourself it's better this way. Safe. Controlled, predictable, but deep down, something's missing. Something you're too proud to admit out loud. You miss being open. You miss the days when you felt things deeply, even if it hurt. You miss the rawness, the thrill, the chaos of love, of connection, of being real. And yeah, real hurts. It disappoints, but it also moves you. It wakes you up, it gives your pain a purpose. And without that, what are you doing? Numbing your days with distractions? Filling your nights with empty conversations and cold comfort? You think that's power? That's not power. That's avoidance. That's self-preservation masquerading as evolution. You didn't evolve. You shut down. You became colder, not wiser, sharper, not better. And you built this persona so well that you started believing it yourself. Let me give it to you straight. Being numb is easy. Anyone can deaden themselves. Anyone can pretend they're above feeling. But to feel after being broken, to hope after betrayal, to love after loss, that's courage. That's resilience. That's real strength. And I'm not saying go back to being soft for everyone. No, don't do that. I'm saying heal with intention. Not to become naive again, but to become powerful with depth. Hardened hearts are brittle. They crack under pressure. But healed hearts bend. They stretch. They hold more. They endure. And they don't lose their humanity along the way. You think no one notices, but we do. We see the way your eyes scan the room for exits when things get too emotional. We hear how you downplay your past, like it was just something I went through, when we know it almost destroyed you. We feel how distant you've become, even when you're standing right next to us. And the saddest part? You think it's protecting you, but it's isolating you. It's turning you into a ghost in your own story. And you deserve more than that. You deserve to feel again. You deserve to breathe without a weight on your chest. You deserve to stop surviving every damn day like it's a war. You didn't come this far just to be numb. So do the hard thing. Sit with yourself. Open the wound. Let it bleed. Let it burn. Because healing always feels like breaking at first. But once the smoke clears, you'll remember something important. You're not the pain they gave you. You're the fire that rose from it. And the fire doesn't disappear just because the world tried to drown it. It waits. It smolders. It watches. And when the time is right, it roars back. Don't let the world convince you that the numb version of you is the best you'll ever be. Prove it wrong. Prove yourself wrong. And when you do, when you come back louder, stronger, more alive than ever before, they won't recognize you. But you'll finally remember who you were before the hardening began. But let's not pretend coming back is easy. It's not. It's brutal. You'll have to face everything you've been avoiding. every suppressed memory, every buried disappointment, every unspoken truth that's been poisoning you from the inside out. And it won't happen overnight. It won't come from a quote, a book, or a perfect moment. It'll come in the quiet, in the late night breakdowns when your chest tightens for no reason, in the moments when someone shows you genuine kindness and you instinctively reject it, in the times you catch your own reflection and don't even recognize the person staring back. That's where healing begins. Not with beauty, but with honesty. With the courage to admit that the armor didn't make you stronger. It made you smaller. It kept you alive, sure, but at what cost? You gave up things you didn't realize you were losing. Laughter, spontaneity, trust, connection. The joy of showing up raw and unfiltered. The thrill of not knowing what comes next, but being alive in the mystery. And now you overthink everything. Every word, every move, every silence. You treat people like suspects and moments like threats. You've built a mental fortress so secure, even you don't know how to get out of it anymore. And every time you try, the fear pulls you back. Fear of being hurt. Fear of being seen. Fear of being known, because deep down you think if people saw the real you, they'd leave. But here's the plot twist you forgot. They already left. They left when you stopped being real. When you stopped letting yourself be real. This world doesn't reward vulnerability. It doesn't hand out medals for openness. No, what it does is punish softness and praise numbness. It celebrates indifference like it's some kind of spiritual enlightenment. But indifference is just decay with better posture. And you've become fluent in that decay. You call it detachment. But what it really is grief. You're mourning the version of yourself that used to feel, the version that used to care, even when it hurt. You buried them too soon, and now you're walking through life like a shell, functional, sharp, and completely hollow. And that's why nothing hits the same anymore. That's why no accomplishment feels satisfying. That's why no connection feels real. You can't feel the high because you numbed yourself to avoid the low. And life doesn't work like that. You can't mute pain without also muting joy. You can't block betrayal without also blocking love. You think you protected yourself, but all you did was pause your life. You didn't move on, you froze, and the world kept turning without you. You look around and wonder why everyone seems more alive, more connected, more at peace, and it gnaws at you, not because you hate them, but because they reflect the version of you that got left behind, the one you stopped nurturing when you started hardening. But it's not too late. That version is still in there, still breathing, still waiting for you to come back and say, I'm ready. Not ready to forget, not ready to pretend, but ready to feel again, to risk again, to be vulnerable even when it terrifies you, because that's the price of a full life. You want depth, You want meaning? You want connection? Then you have to be willing to shatter, willing to cry, willing to look someone in the eyes and say, here I am, messy, flawed, scarred, but real. That's where it all starts. Not with pride, not with silence, with truth. And don't expect applause for it. Don't expect the world to stop and admire your emotional resurrection. This is a quiet war, a war you fight in silence. Every time you choose honesty over ego, every time you choose presence over performance, every time you choose to feel instead of flee, that's the revolution. That's the transformation. And it's the kind of power no one can see, but everyone feels. It radiates. It shifts rooms. It draws real ones and repels fakes. Because when you heal, you stop craving attention. You start craving truth. You don't need to be understood. You just need to understand yourself. And I know that scares you. I know it means opening wounds you swore would stay stitched. But ask yourself this: what's scarier, facing the pain and finally being free, or staying numb for the rest of your life and waking up one day realizing you never really lived, that you played it so safe, so smart, so guarded, that you missed it all, the sunsets, the deep conversations, the kind of love that doesn't knock, it kicks the damn door open, the kind of laughter that makes your ribs hurt, the kind of friendships where you don't have to pretend to be okay. You gave all that up in the name of safety, and now I'm asking you to take it back, to unharden, to thaw, to stop existing and start living again. No one can do it for you. No one's coming to save you from the walls you built. But you can. You can choose. Right now. Right here. You can choose to say, I'm done being numb. I'm done pretending. I'm done surviving. I want to feel again. And it'll hurt. God, it'll hurt. But so does staying stuck. So does carrying dead weight around your heart every day. So does looking in the mirror and not recognizing your own eyes. So pick your pain. The pain of healing, or the pain of staying hardened forever. One of them ends with freedom. The other ends with regret. Choose wisely, because that's the thing they never tell you about regret. It's quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't claw. It just lingers. It follows you into every room, settles into your chest like smoke, and whispers, you could have lived. But you chose safety. And once it's there, it doesn't leave easily. It shows up in the silences between your words, in the spaces between your relationships, in the gaps between who you are and who you were supposed to become. Regret becomes the shadow of your hardened self. And no matter how much success you stack, how many goals you check off, or how strong you appear to others, you'll feel it, like a heartbeat you can't control, like a drum pounding in the back of your mind, reminding you that the one person you were supposed to protect was you. And instead of protecting yourself, you buried yourself. You called it strength. You called it healing. But You know now, it was hiding. And don't mistake this for softness. This ain't no fairy tale. This is war. Real war. The kind fought in the silence of your own soul. This is about learning how to rebuild yourself without losing your edge. This is about finding that balance between being open and not being walked over, between caring and not being used. Because healing doesn't mean becoming weak. It means becoming wise. It means learning how to guard your heart without closing it. How to trust again without being blind. How to speak your truth without needing validation. That's the real challenge. That's the fire most people run from. They either go soft and let the world tear them apart again, or they go hard and lock themselves in a prison of emotional starvation. But you're different. You've seen both sides. You know what it costs to feel too much, and you've lived what it means to feel nothing. Now it's time to find the middle. Because you weren't built for numbness. You weren't created to be a ghost in your own story. You were meant to burn, to bleed, to love so deeply that even your scars scream poetry. You were meant to matter, not just to others, but to yourself. And somewhere along the line, you forgot that. You started playing a role. The unbothered, the stoic, the cold one. But that was never really you, was it? That was the version of you that rose from pain and said, never again. And while that voice got you here, it won't take you further. You're not surviving anymore. You're awakening. And awakening means shedding the old skin, peeling off the labels, burning the masks. It means standing in front of the mirror and saying, I'm not who they made me. I'm not who I pretended to be. I'm who I choose to become now. And yeah, there will be days you'll want to crawl back into your shell. Days the weight will feel unbearable. Days when vulnerability will feel like standing naked in a battlefield. But that's where the magic happens. In those moments. When you feel like breaking, but you don't. When you want to disappear, but you show up anyway. That's when you shift. That's when you reclaim yourself. Because healing isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not a straight line. It's messy. It's ugly. It's 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, and then suddenly, a leap. It's crying without knowing why, laughing harder than you thought you could, letting someone see you, really see you, and not flinching. That's how you know the ice is melting. That's how you know you're alive again. You didn't go through everything you went through just to become cold. That pain wasn't meant to harden you. It was meant to refine you, to teach you who's real, to sharpen your vision, to burn away the weak parts, sure, but not to kill your heart. You still have a heart. You still have a soul. And as long as they're still beating, you still have a chance to return to the version of you that feels things, that believes in something again, that loves without fear, without walls, without hesitation. That version of you didn't die. They're still there, under the rubble, under the scars, under the years of pretending you don't care, waiting. And if you're quiet enough, if you listen in the spaces between all your distractions, you'll hear them whispering, "Let me out." So let them out. Set yourself free. You don't owe this world a performance. You don't owe your past a prison sentence. What you owe is to your future self, the one who looks back and says, "I'm proud of us. We didn't stay broken. We rose, not as stone, but as fire. Because fire feels, fire moves, fire destroys, but it also creates. And maybe that's what you are now. Not hardened, not numb, but something better. Reborn, something stronger than silence, something louder than pain, something more dangerous than numbness, a heart that healed and chose to feel anyway. And when that moment hits you, really hits you, it won't be loud, it won't be cinematic, there won't be applause, just a quiet realization. Like the air shifted, like your bones sighed for the first time in years. You'll look around and see that nothing changed, but you did. Something cracked. Not like breaking, but like opening. Like the light finally found a way in. And at first, it'll feel foreign, uncomfortable. You won't know what to do with the emotions that start leaking back in through the cracks you swore would stay sealed forever. You'll want to shut them out again. Slam the door. Retreat into the cold where things are controlled, predictable, and numb. But you won't. Because once you feel real again, once that first breath of life fills your lungs, you'll remember exactly what you were missing all this time. It was never peace you found in the hardening. It was silence, stillness. But stillness isn't peace. It's paralysis. You weren't calm. You were frozen, suspended in a version of yourself that could not grow, could not evolve, could not live. And you mistook that for healing. But healing is motion. Healing is movement. It's feeling again. It's hurting again. And yeah, that's the scary part. That's what keeps most people numb. Because feeling opens you up to disappointment, abandonment, betrayal, again. But it also opens you up to joy, to intimacy, to purpose. You can't selectively numb emotion. You numb one, you numb them all. You shut the door on pain. You shut the door on everything. And that's what you did. That's what people do when they've been hurt too deeply, too often. But you're not people. You're you. And you've made it this far. Which means you're capable of doing the hard part, coming back.